There's a lot of hype around AI in go-to-market. What does it even mean to be using AI agents? What the heck even is an AI agent? Well, in this video, we're actually going to be going ahead and using AI agents in every function of go-to-market. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to be able to use AI agents as a sales rep. What do you do when a call goes sideways? How do you actually use an AI agent in order to help you with that? Using AI agents as a sales manager. Is a rep coachable, or should you cut your losses? How to use AI agents inside of marketing, taking prospect insights, turning those into a deck in your brand voice as well as your format, and then talking about using AI agents in customer success. Let's say, for example, you're in CS and you have a champion who leaves. Well, who do you talk to now, and is the account still worth it? And last but not least, how to use AI agents in RevOps. Let's say we're going to go over a scenario. Is my $2.3 million forecast real, or am I lying to the board? We're going to go ahead and go over each and every single one of these functions and how to use AI agents in every single one. And while those AI agents are working, because yes, they are actually going to be working live inside of this video, we're actually going to be covering the landscape of AI agents in 2026 as it stands right now. And so that way you can start to understand how to use AI agents today. So let's go ahead and kick off some of these AI agents. Let's go over the first use case. Let's talk about how do you use AI agents as a sales rep. So let's say, for example, I just got off of a tough call with one of my accounts. Let's say the account is Notion. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to my AI agent and give it all of the context so that way it can tell me how I can turn the call around. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up Whisperflow over here, which is an AI in order to talk to AI. And I'm going to say, hey, so I just got off of a tough call with Notion. Here's the transcript of that call. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and feed it the transcript. And don't worry, inside of this video, we're going to walk over what this platform is, how do we go over that, etc. But I want to kick off these agents so that way you can understand how all of this works. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue talking to the agent. And you know, that call didn't go as well as I wanted it. They pushed too hard on pricing and I really fumbled the timeline objection. So here's what I need you to do. First, I want you to go ahead and pull in my sales playbook as well as my objection handling tactics from the agent knowledge folder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give it that agent knowledge folder so that way it has that context right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue talking to it. So I'm going to go ahead and say, and then, Mr. Agent, what I want you to do is I actually want you to go ahead and launch a couple sub-agents in order to research what Notion has announced recently. Has there been any news in the last 30 days that might explain why they might have went ahead and pushed back in the sales call? And then while that sub-agent is running, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and analyze the transcript. What should I have said to them? Where did I lose them? What should I have said differently? As well as once you have that context, I want you to make 3 files for me. I want you to make a call analysis file in terms of telling me what went wrong and what should I have done instead of that. I want you to make a recovery email for me that's going to address the real concerns. And then I also want you to go ahead and draft for me what the notes are going to be so I can put them into Salesforce. What is going to be the honest version so that way I can communicate to the rest of the team. And then we're going to go ahead and continue talking to it. And then, hey, Mr. Agent, once you have all of that context, what I want you to do is I want you to track your progress with a to-do list so that way I can see what you're working on. And then once all of that is done, I want you to go ahead and connect to Salesforce via MCP. And I want you to update the opportunity record with those notes from the CRM summary. And I want you to think through this like a strategist. Okay, so what you're seeing here is quite a few things. And again, don't worry, we're going to break it down inside of this video, but I want to walk you through how we've gone ahead and architected this prompt as a sales rep. And I'm going to go ahead and launch that right now. Next up, while that's running, we're going to go ahead and actually launch what that would look like for a sales manager. So you'll see I have some demo files here on the left side in terms of the sales manager. Let's go ahead and build the prompt for what the sales manager would say. Hey, so I need your help figuring out what's going on with one of my reps. His name is Michael, and here's his rep profile. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and feed it the rep profile right over here. So I have agent knowledge, I have the rep profile, I'm going to copy path, put that right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and continue talking to the agent. And then I'm going to go ahead and give you our sales framework so that way you can understand what really good sales calls look like for us. And then while that's loading right there, I'm going to go ahead and feed it what our sales framework looks like. Boom, just like that, okay? And don't worry, we're going to open up each of these files later on in this video and talk about how we've gone ahead and architected this AI system right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and talk about it and say, hey, so, and then I'm going to also feed you Michael's last 5 transcripts. They're going to be located inside of this folder that I'm about to give you right now as well. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and give them the transcripts for the calls. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue talking to it. And I need you to analyze all 5 of these calls. And I don't want you to summarize each one separately. I want you to actually look at the pattern for each of them. And then actually what I want you to do is I actually want you to spin up a sub-agent for yourself in order to actually think through each of these transcripts in parallel. So that way you can pull the key moments in which Michael was actually struggling, because that'll be faster for you to do that rather than reading them separately. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the prompt. So you see how I'm basically architecting this prompt together. And then agent, what I need you to do is I want you to actually look at what are his consistent weaknesses, not the one-off mistakes, the actual pattern. Is he getting better? Is he stuck? What are his worst moments over the last 2 weeks? And I want you to really rate him on each of these dimensions using our sales framework. But I want you to be honest with me. I've been coaching Michael for the last 3 months now, and I need to know, should I keep investing in him or should we actually have a different conversation? And oh yeah, in order to be token efficient, I don't want you to just dump all of the transcript on me. I actually want you to go ahead and pull relevant quotes that are going to show the pattern, and I want you to track your progress using a to-do list so I can see what you're working on. And then I want you to save all of that in the root folder as a file called Michael Assessment, and let me know, is he coachable? Give me a 30-day plan, and if he's not, then tell me what that real conversation needs to be and map out the outline for that conversation. Think this through with me like a thought partner. And so that's the use case for a sales manager. Let's go ahead and get this agent chugging. So I'm gonna go ahead and send that along its way. Okay, cool. So we now got our 2 agents who are working in the background. Let's go ahead and talk about the marketing use case. So let's say, for example, marketing is trying to decide whether or not they should change their messaging. And so you'll see on the demo files here on the left side, what I have is I have an agent knowledge folder. And inside of this, we have our competitor positioning, our current messaging, as well as our target personas. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and go over to AI, and I'm gonna say, hey AI, so I've got 6 prospect calls over the last month. They're a mix of wins and losses, stalled deals, and I want to know what's actually landing with our messaging. So what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you a folder that's going to have the transcript of each of those 6 prospect calls, as well as another folder that's going to have all of our current messaging. And what I want you to do is I want you to actually create for me a document inside of the same folder. So you're going to go ahead and write the document, put it in there, and you're going to go ahead and tell me what's working with our messaging and what's not. And then after this, we're going to go ahead and write a blog post, and then after that we're going to go ahead and make wireframes and a slide deck based off of that new messaging. You don't have to worry about those later phases right now. Let's go ahead and first focus on the messaging piece of it. And then from there, all I got to do is I go ahead and go over to agent knowledge, I right click, copy path, put that there, and then I go ahead and give it the prospect calls as well. Boom, shakalaka, and then I go ahead and send that agent on its way. All right, we're not done yet. Now we got to go ahead and go over to the next function. So we've just launched the marketing agent. That's working on behind the scenes. You'll see, boom, boom, boom. It's working behind the scenes. We got our sales manager agent going right now, as well as our sales rep agent. We're now going to go ahead and go over to the customer success use case. And so again, I'm just going to launch Whisperflow over here. I'm going to go ahead and talk to my agent. Hey, so I just found out that my champion at Amplitude just left, Sarah, and she was my main point of contact over the last 18 months. And she recently got recruited by a competitor and there was no handoff. And so I just found out because her email bounced. And so what I want you to do is I'm gonna go ahead and give you the account history, and so that way you know everything about the relationship. And then I'm gonna go ahead and give it the actual account history from our CRM. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over to our demo folder here. You'll see that I have right here the account history. And then I'm gonna go ahead and right click on that, and this folder has all of the account history. So you'll see we have past calls, we have a Salesforce export right over here. I'm gonna go ahead and give it that context. And then from there, I'm gonna just go ahead and continue talking to it. And here is our current playbook for when champions leave. And so you'll see what I've gone ahead and done is prior to this entire demo, we went ahead and created a playbook on whenever a champion leaves, we have the context of what that looks like. And this is what that looks like right over here. So you'll see we just have a bunch of context for the AI in order to work through. As well as here is the current status of this account inside of our CRM. And then I'm gonna go ahead and give it the Salesforce export as well from there. And then right over here, we're gonna say, and then also I have for you inside of that folder that I just gave you, all of the past calls with this account that are located inside of that folder as well. And so what I've got is I've got 6 weeks until the renewal, and I have no idea what I'm dealing with right now. And so here's what I need you to do. I need you to actually spin up a bunch of sub-agents in order to research what is going on with Amplitude's current leadership, what is Sarah's old role, as well as what was their background and what she was doing inside of Amplitude, and then who is the person who replaced them and what they actually care about inside of that new role. And then while that sub-agent is running, I want you to actually go through all of those past calls, and I want you to pull out who else was on the calls besides Sarah, what was the concerns that they raised, as well as were there any signals that were located inside of the transcript about the internal politics and what might be going on with budget pressure at Amplitude. And then I go ahead and send that. And then last but not least, I go ahead and tell it, hey, I want you at the end of this to actually make me a stakeholder map. Who are the 3 to 4 people who I need to actually engage with? I want you to actually create a to-do list for yourself so that way you can stay on track over a long period of time. And then I also want you to go ahead and be token efficient. So don't just dump all of the transcripts on me. What I want you to do is I want you to actually go in and make a file for yourself inside of the folder where all of these documents are located. Title that the stakeholder map so that way I can look at it, and then go ahead and be honest with me. If this account is likely to churn, go ahead and let me know about that as well, because I only have 6 weeks and I want to know if this is actually a lost cause. I then go ahead and send that. And then just like that, we now have our CS agent, which is off to the races. Okay, so now we got our other agents who are working. Let's go ahead and launch the RevOps agent. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk to my agent over here. Hey, Mr. Agent, I need a sanity check. So I got this forecast call with the board meeting on Thursday, and I want to submit a $2.3 million commit for Q1, and I need to know if that number is actually real. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and feed you what are the red flags that we typically watch out for whenever we are auditing pipeline. I'm also going to go ahead and feed you what our current pipeline looks like, as well as a Q1 forecast export, as well as what our actual reps have been doing and what that activity data looks like. And then what I need you to do is I want you to cross-reference each of these based off of flags that the calls and the deals are not going to go through. So I want you to look for deals that have skipped stages or moved too fast. I want you to look for deals with no activity in the last 2 weeks. I want you to look for deals where the close date was pushed more than once. I also want you to look for deals where the rep hasn't logged actual activity in a customer meeting in the last 30 days, as well as single-threaded deals with only one contact. And again, just for the video, I have known as a RevOps manager that if I look at any of those flags, that's going to tell me that the forecast isn't as accurate as it actually needs to be. And then I'm gonna go ahead and talk back to the agent. And then I want you to go ahead and actually put that in a report for me inside of the folder that all of these files are in. And then I also want you to make a massive comprehensive to-do list for yourself to make sure that you are thinking through every single aspect of my prompt. And then at the end, I want you to give me an honest take. What's the realistic number that I can report back to the board? What is actually compared to what I've submitted? And then are there any patterns that you're noticing in terms of certain stages, deal size, or time and stage that correlate with weak deals that I can then go ahead and update our SOPs and our understanding of our business, as well as what's going to tell us around if deals are going to close or not. And then tell me at the end of the day, what should I go ahead and tell the board on Thursday? And then I go ahead and send that. And then all I got to do from there is I go ahead and go over to my file, and you'll see I have the pipeline data right over here. I go ahead and give it the folder right there. And then I go ahead and give it our agent knowledge right over here. And then for this specific one, I actually have a forecast analyzer agent that works really well for this as well, which is something that I've gone ahead and created before. And this agent is purpose-built. You'll see there's an entire SOP for this, that it walks its way through actually analyzing the forecast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually copy path and give that to this agent as well, so that way it understands what it needs to do. And I'm going to go ahead and send that RevOps agent on its way. All right, so while those agents are actually running, let's go ahead and actually zoom out and talk about the landscape of the market. And let's talk about what that platform was that I was actually inside of. What are agent platforms? What are the capabilities and the features that agents have in go-to-market that are not going to be something that you can use in a normal chat or a normal AI interface? And so really what's going on is that there are 3 big players in the AI space right now. Obviously, you're familiar with it: OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic. Now, there are 3 different products that each of these companies have. The first product is going to be the model. And the model is the baseline infrastructure, right? So you think of Gemini 3, OpenAI just launched their GPT 5.2, and then Claude has Opus 4.5 that just got released a couple weeks ago. After that, the second product is the consumer app. Now, the consumer app is what typically people think of when they think of AI. And that was the case anywhere between 2021 all the way probably until halfway through 2025, in which all of the way that we would interact with AI was actually through the browser. Now, what's happening is that we're going to talk about the agent platform setup that has really unleashed this entire dam of what's happening with agents going forward. But really, that's the first thing that's a light bulb moment for anybody that I talk to when it comes to the AI landscape, is that when you think of AI, and you think of the consumer app, and you think of the browser, you want to understand that that is primarily for the general use case, and kind of like what general population might use for Q&A, kind of like the therapist, the health advice, all of that stuff, okay? So that's going to be the consumer app. And again, that's what most people think is actual AI. However, what's going on now is that there's this entire different product, which is what you saw me inside of, which is the agent platform. And the way that I describe it is that the agent platform is for professionals. It's actually to get work done. And now there's two different parts of the agent platform. There's the mainstream users as well as the power users. And we'll go over the division between both of them. Because as of right now, the week that I'm recording this video, there's an entirely new product that has been released in order to use agent platforms for the mainstream. And we'll talk about that more in just a second as well. Now, the main thing that you need to know about the difference between consumer apps and the agent platform is that there are actually a number of features that you saw me demo as we were going ahead and launching those agents that are not available inside of the consumer app. So the ability to actually make a comprehensive to-do list for the agent that allows it to be able to work for 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. I've actually had agents that have worked for 4 hours asynchronously on a task. The ability to actually launch sub-agents is a feature of an agent platform. The ability to be able to feed it context and then have it actually write files for you on your local computer. All of that is a feature set that only an agent platform has that the consumer app does not. Now, how do you actually download these agent platforms? How do you get started? It'll literally take you 5 minutes and 3 steps. I'm gonna walk you through it right now. So what you do, we still use Google for some stuff. We go to VS Code download, okay? So you just go over to Google, you type in VS Code download, you go ahead and click on that, and you go ahead and download whatever version works best for you, okay? Once that downloads, you're gonna go ahead and put that into your application folder, and then you're gonna go ahead and open up VS Code. What you're gonna do is when you have VS Code opened up, you're gonna go ahead and click on the icon at the top that looks like building blocks, and you're gonna go ahead and download the Claude Code extension. Literally, that's it. That's step number 2. You go ahead and you download the Claude Code extension. It's the official one from Anthropic, okay? Once you go ahead and download that, you're gonna have an icon that shows up on the top right that looks like an orange Claude icon, okay? What you then do is you go ahead and click Claude AI subscription. It's gonna then actually match up to your Claude subscription. You only really need the $20 a month plan in order to be successful with this. And then once you run out of tokens on the $20 a month plan, it'll give you the option in order to upgrade. But literally you can run this entire system and everything that I just showed you for $20 a month. How insane is that? And it's literally 3 steps. Download VS Code, download the extension for Claude Code inside of VS Code, and then you go ahead and log in with your Claude subscription. And then that's it. And then from there, you just go ahead and restart VS Code, you hit the orange icon, and then what you do is you go ahead and click on Claude subscription. From there, it's gonna go ahead and open up into another tab. It'll go ahead and ask you in order to authorize. Once you go ahead and authorize, you go back over to VS Code, and then boom, just like that, you're going to have the AI agent enabled. And then from there, you can have all of your files. And you can see how this really starts to become an ecosystem of files that your entire team can then share. And for us at LeanScale, it's actually starting to replace Google Drive for us. And so we'll have another video later on talking about exactly how we've created this ecosystem and how we're actually using GitHub as our replacement for Google Drive in order to share all of these skills, these files, this context, and then using all of this in order to connect to the MCPs as well. Let's talk about some of the big features that you saw me demo as we were going ahead and launching the agent. So you'll see that I am right now inside of VS Code with the Claude Code extension, which is the agent platform. And let me go ahead and open up another agent here so you can see. Now, I know that this does look like the consumer app in which it has kind of like a chat interface, but there's a couple big things that are different here that the agent platform has that the consumer app does not. The first one is going to be the ability to actually have permission mode. So you'll see as I'm switching through this, on the bottom left, I can actually put the agent in a different mode, okay? And the reason why this is important is because you can control a little bit of the mindset that the agent is in. So for example, when it's in plan mode, what you're gonna notice is that it's actually gonna step back and think through things. And then what it does is when it's in plan mode, it actually makes a plan file behind the scenes and ask you, hey, let's go back and forth, let's optimize this scoping document, and then it'll ask you for approval. Does this plan file look good? And then it'll actually go ahead and put itself into bypass permissions mode or ask before edits and actually execute the plan. Again, this is a feature set that the consumer app does not have, only the agent platforms have. The other piece that you're gonna go ahead and notice about the agent platform as I go ahead and put it into bypass permissions mode is going to be if I say, hi, how are you, okay? I can then go ahead and while it's working, say another thing. I can go ahead and say another thing. I can go ahead and say another thing, right? Right here, you can see you can queue up messages, and what it'll do is as it's working, it'll take into consideration each of the messages that you're going ahead and putting in there. Now, with that being said, let's actually go ahead and talk about the agents that we've launched so that way I can really start to demo for you some of the prompts that we were going ahead and putting together. So the first thing is that you saw me that I was actually talking to the AI agent. Now, the way I'm doing that is using another application. That application is called Whisperflow. This is what it looks like. Highly recommend it because all you got to do is you just click one button, and then what it does is it actually cleans up the transcript that you're going ahead and giving into the computer. Now, the cool thing is that this Whisperflow technology works outside of just an agent platform. And so you can actually use use it in Slack, in emails, and then it actually detects what app you're inside of. And then if you talk, it'll actually format that text inside of an email. It'll go ahead and ask you, do you want to format this as a Slack message, casual, professional? It's a really cool AI app that's completely separate than the agent platform, but very, very useful when you are using agent platforms in order to talk to them. And you'll see, just like that, it actually went ahead and cleaned up the transcript of what I was just saying. Now, in terms of the actual prompt, right? So you'll see this was what we did when we were talking about the sales rep prompt. And a couple of things that you'll notice on here that I was able to do. First off is that with the agent platform, you're able to have all of your files here on the left side. And so for the sake of this video and for the sake of this demo, I went ahead and actually set up each of these folders based off of what was in there, right? And so you can see for the agent knowledge for the sales rep, we have this B2B playbook that I can open up right here. So you see this is our B2B sales playbook. We have our objection handling documentation, which I was able to go ahead and feed to it. We also have our product overview. So what you're noticing is that with the agent platform, I'm able to really just create files. And the cool thing is you can actually use the AI agents in order to create those files using your voice. You just say, hey, I want to create this file about our product overview. Here's a couple of things about our product. Here's our website. Go ahead and make for me a product overview. Super simple, right? And so what you have is you have this agent knowledge database right over here. And then sure, there's like the basic ABC use case about literally just asking it, hey, can you tell me like what's going on with our objection handling, like ask it questions about that. But that's like ABCs. What you saw me use was operationalizing that into a prompt that the agent was actually able to do work for me. And so what I was able to feed it was not only the transcripts, you'll see I had the Notion call transcript right over here, and then you'll see that this agent actually finished, and I'll walk you through exactly what it did, and then we can actually go through its entire thought process. So you'll see, I hear you, tough calls happen, and it's smart to debrief properly. And then what it did is it read the files, it went ahead and made a to-do list for itself. Because remember, we're talking about right over here, we talk about what are some of the features that agent platforms have that consumer apps do not, is the ability to make an internal to-do list for itself so it can maintain intent over a long period of time. And then you'll see what it did is it went ahead and actually launched a sub-agent. And now this is the other cool thing that agent platforms are able to do. So what happens is that you have the main agent, and then what it does is it launches all of these sub-agents that are actually going out and doing different tasks and then reporting back to the main agent. And so in this case, all because in my prompt, I told it to actually launch a sub-agent, what it did is it went ahead and launched this sub-agent, and the sub-agent was researching whether or not Notion had announced any layoffs, any restructuring, and then returning that as a summary. So you'll see it went ahead and launched this sub-agent. You'll see that running the research agent in the background. Let me go ahead and analyze this call against your playbook. This is where it gets real. So then it said updated to-dos. Yeah, AI is still a little bit hypey on there, right? And then you see it gives us the call analysis. It went ahead and compared all of that. And then it went ahead and wrote all of that, creating the call analysis files. Boom, 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 boom. And then it says I don't see the Salesforce MCP, so for the sake of this video, I don't have the Salesforce MCP connected. However, you can go ahead and connect your Salesforce MCP to the agent platform, and then it'll actually go into your Salesforce and update things from there. Super easy, you just launch another agent and you tell it, hook up to my Salesforce MCP, and it'll walk you through all of the steps in order to do so. And then last but not least, you'll see, remember this is the sales rep use case. What it did is it said, hey, everything is ready. Here's a summary. And then we have all of the documents that it created. And so right now we just go ahead and go over to the left side. We go over to Notion call analysis. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I'll go ahead and open up this table of contents on the right side. And so you can see it gave me executive summary. Hey, the call derailed in the first 25 seconds when you abandoned the discovery in favor of a feature demo. Boom. What went wrong? And now it's going ahead and actually codifying for me every single part of the transcript and parlaying that with our playbooks and letting the rep know exactly where they lost the call. And again, you'll see that the power of this is because we're able to feed the LLM context and actually make it specific to us. This is the big difference between just using raw intelligence of AI inside of a browser and then actually feeding it the context that's going to allow it to be personal for each and every single department. Then here's the cool part. It actually went ahead and appended all of the research from the sub-agent inside of this as well. So you'll see it says market context that you did not have. Research shows that why your 60 to 75K ask did not hit. And then it went ahead and actually told us what is the news that is going on with Notion inside of the market as to what's going on in the broader ecosystem to let us know why the call was not successful. From there, you'll see, again, I'm not going to go through this entire document, but all of that is there for the sales rep in order to go through. From there, we actually then also have a recovery email. So you'll see this is the recovery email for Notion. You'll see it goes ahead and puts that for the stakeholders, and then it breaks down what that email might look like. Now, here's a cool thing. I could actually come back to this and say, right over here, hey, so I really love the way that you wrote that email. I want to actually make an SOP so that way we can actually start to take all of my calls in the future and write the email in the same way. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and make an SOP for yourself using this SOP on how to make SOPs. And I want you to go ahead and save that inside of the folder as well. Now, what you just noticed is now we're able to compound on all of that learning, and we can go ahead and say, okay, cool, we're now going to save this as a separate file and really start to use this as an SOP going forward. And then we can go ahead and launch that right over there, and the agent can get busy actually making for me a custom SOP based off of the input. Now, I could have actually put into the prompt, hey, I loved this in particular about the email. I want you to really emphasize it in the SOP, and it will actually go ahead and save that as an SOP. And then guess what? In the future, I can just right click, copy path, and tell it, hey, here's the SOP on how to make emails for me the way that I like it. Go ahead and format an email for me on that. Okay, so that's the sales rep use case. Now let's go ahead and actually talk about the sales manager use case. So if you recall, we had one of our reps, Michael, who wasn't performing, and we went ahead and gave it a bunch of context about what that would look like. And so you'll see, again, it made a to-do list for itself. It's reading Michael's rep profile. It's reading our sales framework. It's analyzing the 5 calls, and then it's identifying what the weakness patterns are. It's rating Michael on the framework dimensions, determining the coachability, and it's going ahead and saving Michael's assessment inside of the root folder. So you'll see it went ahead and worked probably for about 5-10 minutes, and this is where you got to have some realistic expectations, because if you expected a human to do this, it would take them some time, right? And so the agent does work autonomously behind the scenes for that period of time, and then it went ahead and gave us a summary here at the end, and then we can actually go ahead and open up the entire assessment right over here. But real quick, let me open the summary. You'll see Michael is conditionally coachable, but you need to change your approach. Here's what I found across all 5 calls. The pattern that won't break, the pitch first instinct that you flagged in November is still there. How does it know that? Because remember, we went ahead and gave it some information about my coaching sessions with Michael. And so it's going ahead and breaking down in every call, he heard Sarah say our CRM is a mess and interrupted her to pitch. He lasted 8 seconds on velocity before launching into product. And so you see it's going ahead, 3 months of feedback hasn't fixed this. That's the signal. It went ahead and gave me his aggregate scores. It went ahead and gave me the exception on the Meridian call. Apparently he did pretty well. And then it went ahead and gave us its recommendation, as well as what's your read on this? Do you want me to go ahead and dig any deeper? Now, I could literally just go back and forth with it here and say, you know what? No, actually, I think you might have over-indexed on XYZ. This is where I want you to change things. Boom. And now I can actually have a conversation because it has all of that context I went ahead and gave it. And then if we go ahead and open up Michael's performance assessment, boom. Tenure, 8 months as an AE, year-to-date quota, 62%, executive summary, and you'll see this entire breakdown in terms of an analysis for this sales rep has been generated custom based off of our own context. How insane is that? So that's the sales manager use case. Let's now go ahead and go over to our third use case, which was the marketing use case. So if you recall, what we did for this one is we said we had 6 prospect calls over the last month, and we had documentation that we fed it about our current messaging. And we went ahead and fed it all of that, right? And now you'll see what it did is it went ahead and created a messaging analysis file inside of that same folder. And what it's doing is it's giving us a summary of the analysis that it found. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up that document right over here, and you'll see messaging analysis, what's landing and what's not. And you'll see what it says is based on the 6 prospect calls, 2 wins, 1 losses, 1 stalled, and 2 active. Here's the executive summary. Here's what's working. So your current messaging is implementation in weeks, not months. The verdict is to keep and amplify it. You'll see from there, you'll see usage-based pricing, focus on product, explainable AI. It's giving us, hey, this is strong. This is the sleeper hit right here, right? This is telling us, hey, your current messaging is 1 platform versus 5 tools, and it pulled that from our current messaging file over here. And it's letting us know this is partially working, but what you're saying you're saying it wrong. The 1 platform positioning sounds like you're trying to do everything, but prospects actually respond to the opposite, a focus tool that does one thing well. And it's going ahead and giving you the citations from the transcripts about what the prospects have said around that messaging piece. How wild is that? From there, it's going to tell us what's not working as well. So you'll see it goes ahead and gives us a breakdown on here, and then it gives us recommendations around what the messaging changes need to be. Now, here's a cool thing. I can go back to that agent that we have over here. Okay, let me go ahead and open up that agent, which was this one. And I'm going to go ahead and tell it, hey, I love this. I actually want to go ahead and turn this into a blog post. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit more information so you can understand what our brand tone is. So I'm going to go ahead and feed you the file right over here, and I want you to go ahead and write for me a blog post in our brand tone, and go ahead and do that right now and save that inside of the blog post folder as well for me. Now, of course, I could have gone ahead and given it some more context here as well in terms of the length. I could have given it some more files, but this is just a demo. I want to show you what's happening here, right? And of course, if I go ahead and open up this file, you'll see this is something that we already used a different agent in order to prepare this. And it goes ahead and gives us what is the brand tone, how we should actually write, what are the voice characteristics, do's and don't examples. And now I can literally just with the click of a button, feed that into the agent, and the agent is now literally able to take all of that context into consideration and write for me that blog post. And now, of course, if we continue this demo, what we can also do is we can tell it to go ahead and make an entire deck, a slide deck for us based off of that blog post. And it's literally just as simple as I come over here and I just go ahead and copy not only the SOP that we have on how to make PowerPoints, but you'll see if I have this folder right here called skills and SOPs, there is a PowerPoint maker agent. All I do is I right click that, copy path, and I put that right over here. Now these agents are known as skills. We'll probably have a completely separate video on this, but Anthropic and all of the AI companies right now have adopted the standard called skills. And so you can actually go onto the internet and download agent skills. And it's really cool because it's kind of like Neo in the Matrix where he was like, I don't know Kung Fu. And then he was like, nope, boom. Now you know Kung Fu. That's what skills are to AI agents. And those are literally live right now. You can go onto the internet and say, hey, I want to have a PowerPoint maker skill. I want to have an SOP maker skill. I want to have a PDF maker skill. And inside of these skills, inside of these folders is all of the files needed for the AI to know how to do that task. And all I got to do is I right click, copy path, here. Make this into a slide deck for me, and it'll literally go out there and make it into a slide deck. And just to show you what I mean by this, just because I think this is a really cool use case, I'm actually gonna first, before I tell it to make slides, I'm gonna tell it to make some wireframes for me inside of the chat so I can approve what the layout of those slides is going to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk to it. Hey, so I actually want you to go ahead and create for me in the chat right now some wireframes because we're actually gonna make this into a slide deck. But before we make it into a slide deck, I wanna see what your creative vision is to pick some of the hardest hitting points from this blog post that you just wrote and put inside of the chat for me what the wireframes for that would actually look like. And you'll notice what I did ahead of time is I actually had an SOP that was pre-created because we've done these wireframes a bunch of times here at LeanScale. I already have an SOP, a skill, if you want to call it that, in order for the LLM, for the AI agent to know how to actually create wireframes. I'm going to go ahead and send it that right there, right? And then once those wireframes are showing up inside of the chat, boom, it's going to read the SOP. It's going to create the wireframes inside of the chat. And then I can actually go in and approve those wireframes. Look at this. Look at this live right now, okay? Wireframes, what your prospects actually want. I'm pulling in high impact moments. Here's the creative version. And then I can look at these slides as if they are visuals on a slide right now and I can approve them, right? So why Tech Corp signed 3 weeks, over here. Why Meridian walked. You guys had a good product. It wasn't about the product. Robert, the CRO, lost deal. And so this is something that I can now literally create right here. Look at this. Right here, AI credibility crisis, revenue intelligence means nothing, Mike, why should I trust your AI, Sarah, right? So it's pulling from the transcripts, it's going ahead and making those wireframes. Now, if I wanted to go and say right here, hey, I love these wireframes, but I want to go ahead and tweak wireframe slide number 7. And, instead of saying this, do this instead. Show me what that would look like. It would actually show what those wireframes look like right over here. And then guess what? What I can now do is once I approve these wireframes, I can go ahead and actually give it the SOP on how to make a PowerPoint. I'm gonna do that live with you right now so that way you can really understand how amazing and powerful agent platforms are. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to another very important feature that is all about agent platforms, which is token management. And so if you don't know what tokens are, let me explain that very quickly. Now, this is a huge piece of using AI agents is understanding that every AI model has a token window. What does it mean, a token window, and what the heck is a token in the first place? So a token is the atomic unit of how AI thinks. And so one token is approximately 3 to 4 characters. And so when you type in, hello, how are you? That's about 6 tokens. Now, the reason why that's important is because every single LLM, every single AI has a token window. You can kind of think about it like it's working memory. All of the stuff that it can remember at any given moment. Now, Claude's latest model, 4.5, has a 200,000 token window. Gemini 3 has a 1 million token window. Now, that does not mean that more is better because the more token window that you have, the less it's able to pay attention to the details, but the more it's able to ingest information and summarize it. As opposed to a 200,000 token window, which is like what we're using today, allows it to focus on the details, and it's a really good sweet spot. However, the reason why this is important is because all of your inputs to the AI are included in that 200,000 token window. And so what that means is that when you have, let's say, your user message, okay? Let's just hypothetically say that was 10,000 tokens, right? All of the prompts that we went ahead and gave it. But then that also includes out of that 200,000, right? Because we only have 200,000 right over here. Out of that 200,000, the output message is also included. So let's say, for example, that cost an additional 10,000 tokens, okay? And when I say cost, it doesn't mean that it actually charged you those tokens, because we can get into the billing side of it completely separately. But what it means is that it took away from your 200,000 token window in terms of that working memory. And so what you now have is you have 20,000 tokens that have been used up there. Well, what you do then is you then send it another message, okay? And then you went ahead and it went ahead and outputted another message from there. And then you sent another message, and you go back and forth. Let's say you got over here and you're like, okay, this is now going to be like 190,000 tokens that are used. Well, I only have 10,000 tokens left. Well, what's going to happen is that when you get to that 200,000 limit, it's going to start to forget what happened before that. And so that's the reason why when you're going back and forth through chat and it's like, okay, going, you're like, whoa, wait a second. It just completely lost track of what we were doing. It's because it went ahead and hit its token limit. Now, why is that important when we are using agent platforms? Is because in the agent platform itself, it tells us when we are going to be running into that token window. And this is a huge difference between, again, that consumer app facing side of things, as well as the power user agent side of things. Is because if you look at the bottom of the screen right over here, it says that we've used 73% of our context window. And it says we have 27% of context remaining. Now, inside of the agent platform, what we can do is we can actually go ahead and compact. What does compact mean? It means that if I go ahead and click this, it's going to create a summary for itself in order to hand off to the next agent, and that next agent is going to come up with its own fresh 200,000 token window. Now, the reason why that's important is because right now I'm going to go ahead and tell it to make a PowerPoint slide for me. Now, a PowerPoint slide in an entire deck is going to take probably a bunch of tokens, and I'm probably not going to be able to do it in 27% of the token window. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and click in order to auto compact. And the thing is that this agent is almost like when somebody ends their shift and they have to kind of hand off the notes to the next employee who's going to start. That's exactly what's happening right now. This agent, we're saying, hey, you're done. You had 27% of your shift left. I got a really big project. I want you to be fresh. So let's go ahead and compact, create a summary, and I want you to go ahead and hand that off to the next agent. And you're going to see in just a second, it's going to go ahead and give us that summary. And now we're going to go ahead and start with a new token window. And so just like that, you'll see what it's gone ahead and done is it's gone ahead and actually created a summary for the next agent, and you'll see that that indicator actually disappeared. And so this is what I think a lot of people don't really understand about using AI, is that as you're starting to use it for a work context, these are some of the intricacies that you have to keep in mind, and it really is a new paradigm of working. It's a completely different way in order to interact with work in which you're using agents, but it requires for you to understand the limitations of AI as well as the agents. And so you see right over here, went ahead and gave us a summary. It's going ahead and handing that summary off to the next agent. From here, we now have a new token window that I'm now going to go ahead and tell it to. Okay, so here's a funny bloopers for you guys. So what happened was we told the last agent to go off of duty, right? We told him, hey, you're done. But in the summary, okay, it didn't have the wireframes. So what I should have done is I should have actually told the last agent to save those wireframes inside of a document, and then the next agent could actually pull from that document. And so we're gonna have to redo this over here. I'm gonna go ahead and say, hey, so just so we don't lose these wireframes, I actually want you to go ahead and save these wireframes inside of a new document, inside of the wireframes folder. So that way, if you do end up running out of context, we don't lose all of this valuable wireframe work that we can just build into a slide deck. And so just like that, you'll see that we have right now, it gave us the wireframes prospect messaging deck. If I go ahead and open up that file right here, you'll see that we have all of our wireframes. And so now I know I'm not going to lose that information. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and say, cool, I'm going to give it this skill right here. I also have another skill for PowerPoint that I'm going to feed it right over here. And I'm going to say, cool, so here are two context skills. Inside of the wireframe to PowerPoint skill is actually our lean scale branding and our colors. And so I want you to actually go ahead and create these wireframes into slides. And you can save those slides inside of my marketing deck folder. And then I want you to go ahead and get cranking on that now. And then just like that, we go ahead and send the agent on its merry way. And it is going to go ahead and start cranking on making those wireframes into a PowerPoint, and I'll show you what the output of that looks like in just a second. But wait, there's more. We're not done yet. Remember, we were actually talking to the CS, the CSM, right? And the CSM was talking about how they had a champion that had recently left. And so a couple of things that you'll notice about this prompt was that I actually told it to go ahead and launch some explore agents for itself. I gave it a lot of context. I also told it to make a to-do list for itself, right? And so you'll see what it did is cool. I read the files. It went ahead and read the files around the playbook. It went ahead and launched a sub-agent for itself in order to research Amplitude's leadership. And then it went ahead and read all of the other files. Excellent, I have the 4 transcripts. Good, the research agent is actually running the searches. While that works, let me go ahead and synthesize what I've learned from the transcripts and create the stakeholder map. So went ahead and gone and created those, has a stakeholder map, boom, boom, boom. Once the sub-agent went ahead and finished, it says the research agent is making good progress but still working. Okay, the research agent is wrapping up. It's cool. And then, boom, okay, previous research, boom, the research agent is complete. And now it's appending all of the research agent's work into that document. And it went ahead and gave me a summary here at the bottom. And we can go ahead and open it up. So we go over to customer success, and you'll see that we have the stakeholder map right over here. I'm going to go ahead and open that up inside of a document. And just like that, you will see that we have the Amplitude stakeholder map, executive summary, the priority contacts, action required, who the contact is, why he matters, Sarah's replacement, okay, still unknown, because there wasn't any information about that. But then we have the CFO, what he cares about, the evidence from the calls, what the risks are. Without Sarah, no one is actually managing his skepticism. The COO, it went ahead and mapped all of that. Internal politics summary, the red flag assessment based off of the playbook, and then it went ahead and gave us a recommended action plan based off of every single week, and then the honest assessment and said, hey, is the account still salvageable? And then it went ahead and gave us all of that information as well. And then external research findings, boom, could not verify based off of the LinkedIn search. However, we can go ahead and give you some additional context on here as well. And it went ahead and pulled their financial health based off of the company as well, strategic direction, documented wins, and it gave us the sources on there, right? How cool is that, that a CSM was able to go ahead and pull that out right there? And then the other thing is we could come back and say, hey, you know what? I didn't like this. I like this. Let's have a back and forth conversation, launch another couple sub-agents in order to search their financial reportings, launch another agent in order to search their website. We can put that in there, say, hey, append that into the document. All of that we can do by the power of our voice and an agent platform. And then, of course, last but not least, our RevOps agent. So if you remember, our RevOps agent and the scenario that we had was we have a meeting with the board on Thursday, and we say that our forecast is $2.3 million in commit for Q1. However, we're not sure based off of the deals that are in pipeline whether or not that forecast is accurate. So again, you'll see on here, it went ahead and made a massive to-do list for itself. It was able to work asynchronously for 10, 20 minutes. It went through all of the information. It says, now I have all of the data. Boom, boom, boom. You can see how it's thinking through each and every single part of every to-do, just like that. And then you'll see that it went ahead and wrote a Q1 forecast reality check, and it went ahead and gave us a summary right here in terms of the bottom line. I can go ahead and go over to our RevOps folder. I'll go ahead and go over to the pipeline data, and then it says Q1 forecast reality check. I can open up that document right over here, and you'll see this is the submitted commit. It gave us an executive summary. The hard truth, you cannot commit 2.3 million with confidence. Your realistic number is somewhere between 1.2 and 1.75. The gap is primarily driven by one rep, Ryan, whose pipeline is almost entirely dead deals being carried as committed. And it went ahead and gave us all of the high risk deals. It went ahead and broke down what all of that looks like, the stage, the last activity, all of that. You'll see on the right side, this is the table of contents. Right over here, the pattern analysis, it gave us the realistic numbers, what to tell the board on Thursday. Check that, option 1, option 2, immediate actions required this month, and then for your SOPs, and then it gave us a table summary of everything from there as well. How cool is that, right? Now, let's actually go back to our slide deck and see what's going on with that. Right here, check this out. We have our prospect messaging deck. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up our marketing folder. We're gonna go over here to the deck. And right here, we'll see that we have our PowerPoint. I'm gonna go ahead and reveal in Finder. From there, we're gonna go ahead and pull that up right over here. Open up the deck. Boom, look at that. And it's in Lean Scales branding. And what I'm gonna do is I actually wanna show this off for you, because what I want you to check out is how accurate this is compared to the wireframes. This is how it gets really crazy. And then guess what? You can just throw this into Google Slides. And then here's the really cool part. Every single one of these, let me actually just show you this. Every single one of these, this is not Nano Banana Gemini 3 images. This is as if a real human went in and put that text in there. I can edit this text. I can edit this box. I can edit any piece of this. Imagine how much time this has now literally just saved me. Look at this. Boom, 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 boom. And then this is all based off of one-to-one what was inside of the wireframes. My screen's a little bit small here, but you'll be able to go ahead and see this, is that you'll see on the left side, this was the wireframe. This is the slide. Right over here, you'll see why Tech Corp signed. Why Tech Corp sign? Boom. Speed, focus, pricing. Boom. Let's go over the AI problem. We got the AI problem right over here. Check this out. Look at how accurate this is. Okay, and then all I do is I literally just drag that over here, and then it'll open up, boom, and then guess what? I now have a Google Slides version, and how insane is that? That literally every single piece of this is something that I can click and edit as if a real human went in and put that, and it's all according to the brand tone. Imagine how powerful that is. And so really what I want to do inside of this video is I really hope that we were able to put the light bulb moment for you to understand the difference between the consumer app, which is again, what everybody thinks what AI is, or they think that AI is going to be that little chat bot that lives inside of every single one of the individual tools that we use. No, no, no. The future is going to be utilizing agent platforms. And then guess what? Everything that we discussed here today, okay, was everything that was just living in terms of the internal use case. We haven't even yet talked about how you can now connect these agent platforms to the MCPs. And so from my agent platform right over here, I can connect to the Salesforce MCP. I can connect to the HubSpot MCP. I have a joke that I make here at Lean Scale where I say, I do not want to log into any single SaaS UI ever again. Everything that we do going forward is happening within the agent platform. And I literally just tell the agent, hey, go into our teamwork, go into our project management software, go ahead and give me the summary of what's going on with this project. Tell me what the progress of this other task is. And we can all do that through the agent platform, utilizing our own files, as well as using the AI, using the model in this agentic way. And just to give you a breakdown of what the landscape is currently looking like, is that up until middle of 2025, a lot of these agent platforms didn't really even exist, okay? This is how new and really how cutting edge all of this stuff is. And so we thought, hey, cool, that's AI, right? That's where everybody's living right now. But the truth is that now we've gone ahead and explored what the agent platforms look like. Now within that, what we've gone ahead and demoed here today is what is called Claude Code. And then right here, you're gonna see that there's kind of two different versions of this. There is the VS Code extension, which is what you saw us use and what I went ahead and help you set up. And then there's also the terminal CLI version. But again, this is what I call kind of like the power user version. Okay, so up until probably the last 6 months, there was only the consumer app, and then there was the power user version, okay? Now the thing is that these agent platforms took off so much over the last couple months, being able to do all the stuff that I just showed you, is that now Claude is actually coming out with a mainstream version of the power user version here. And like I said, that actually just came out just a couple days ago. And so it is still getting traction. It's primarily for Max users right now. It is a research preview. And the way that I describe it is that it won't have all of the feature set that we went ahead and talked about inside of this video. And so you can kind of think about it's like the consumer app is, in order to get work done, it's like using a drill that you might buy at Walmart. It's great in order to fix things at your house every once in a while, right? And then the power user section is gonna be like, okay, let's get out the construction equipment. We're talking about, let's get out the bulldozer, let's get out the chainsaw. It's really going ahead and allowing you to get a lot of work done. And then the mainstream user version of this is like, yeah, we have a drill. It's a little bit more hardcore than the drill that you get at Walmart, but it's not going to be the same as being able to do a lot of the functionality that we went ahead and talked about. Now, you might be wondering, well, okay, yeah, that's all great. What's the actual enablement piece of this? How is the adoption going on at your organization right now? Well, we actually have a leaderboard that we have gone ahead and created. And remember tokens, we talked about AI tokens. Well, this is actually a live leaderboard right now that what happens is that the agent platforms are going ahead and putting all of their information about their token usage onto this leaderboard. And you'll see this, we can actually see the usage of the tokens this month. And this refreshes for us every single month over the last 30 days. And it refreshes literally every 30 seconds based off of the token usage. And so just in the last couple weeks, our team has used 1.86 billion tokens because we have now our entire team using these agent platforms. And you see down here, we got the power builders who are not incorporated in this, but you'll see this myself, and we have our head of engineering, Jake, who's using tokens there as well. So you'll see, this is where you're now able to go to the entire team and then see the usage of each and every single team member based off of the tokens that they're using inside of the agent platform. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is in the course of however long this video has been. You've now seen me pretty much do every function in go-to-market, or a major task in every single function in go-to-market using AI agents in the course of what? A couple minutes in order to go ahead and execute all of that. And so that is the power of agent platforms. And really, this is all on the cutting edge. AI is changing so fast. And so if you have any issues setting any of this up in order to actually understand what this looks like, reach out to us. We can go ahead and answer any questions. And then, like I said, we're gonna have a series of these videos talking through not only the use cases, but then also how we're now redoing all of our playbooks for go-to-market in this new AI first approach. And so we can't wait in order to share that with you. So with that being said, this is Yassine from Lean Scale. Checking out. Catch you in the next one.